All right, Mickey says 4:30. Go ahead and open the May 14th meeting of the zoning board of appeals, and welcome to everyone. Always nice to see a crowd. Dalton, I see we got some additional items here. Looks like a new set of minutes.
Correct. Staff has provided a updated set of minutes that fixed a couple of minor errors. When we get to that item, I can explain more in detail what has changed.
Okay, perfect. Is that not our first order of business?
Correct, yeah. So to explain what changed with the minutes, basically on pages, packet page 3, we have added the time at which the public hearing was begun, as well as clarifying what time it was closed on packet page 5. Additionally, on packet page 5, there was a typo in which instead of the word A, the letter S was typed. Additionally, on packet page.
Yeah, I don't think the packet pages are on the updated minutes.
Oh, apologies. It was just the minutes printed. But on, there was an instance in which Attorney Schmidt was referred to as Lori instead of Attorney Schmidt. So to be consistent with the framing with the rest of the minutes, that was updated to Attorney Schmidt. And those were the changes that were made.
All right. Did anyone else catch any changes to the minutes?
Sure. Packet page 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraph down, member, second sentence, member should be capitalized. And then, packet page 6. Second paragraph, member Booker said he would be in favor. I think B's missing.
Anyone else have any corrections to the minutes? Do we need to do a voice vote on minutes? I always forget what we're doing now.
So we would need a motion, a second, and then a voice vote would be appropriate.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
You got to make the motion.
I move to approve the minutes from the previous meeting as amended.
We have a motion. Is there support for the motion?
Support.
Mr. Butcher. Any further discussion on the motion?
Last month, we were told we could do administrative changes outside of motion process. Is that correct?
Apologies, could you
For things
clarify?
like that, for spelling errors.
Right, if you see something as you get into the draft in and it's a typo or something like that, you can certainly contact them ahead of time to let them know. I was out of town, so there were a few items I noticed today when I was looking over the minutes, so it's easier to update them ahead of time and get it part of the agenda packet.
But once we're here.
Yeah, right, we can still change it. It's just if you see something like that, it's really a pure typo.
All right, we have motion and support. All those in favor of adopting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. Minutes are approved. All right, our next item of business is a variance request for 2301 Lakeshore Drive. Go ahead and open that public hearing. Is there someone here who would like to tell us what you're after on that? Please come forward to the podium. Tell us who you are and what you would like us to consider.
Certainly will. My name is Ade Adewoye. I'm architect, Brooks Architectural, and I'm the architect for these two gentlemen here. What we are trying to do basically is to install a fence higher than the zoning ordinance call for. And the main reason we are doing it is basically for security and also noise pollution to that house. They just bought the house and They really want to make it their forever house. And the higher the fence, we want to do a 6-foot fence instead of 3-foot. The neighbors, is that towards the west? South, sorry. Yeah, has the same height of fence. I think I worked on that house like 30 years ago. And so that's basically what we are asking. We are also asking variance on the garage addition. The garage clipped the edge of the second front yard. We have 2 front yards. The lot has that significant hardship with that. We have Old Lakeshore Road front yard, and then the existing Lakeshore Road front drive. So we're asking for that variance as well.
All right. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
The variance is just that corner?
Yes. The bright red.
Have there been any efforts to try to keep it within the confines?
Yes, it makes the garage almost unusable. The way the floor plan on the inside, yeah, we've tried that.
Other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. If there's anyone here that would like to speak to this request, please come forward.
Good evening. My name's James Mark Moore. I live at 305 Wallace Avenue in St. Joseph. Our property fronts Wallace Avenue, but we're directly across from that property. So our west end of our property would look directly onto that property. First of all, I want to welcome Javier and Ron to the neighborhood. It's been very cordial. We've discussed some of my concerns, and I wish them well with the project. My objection basically is just the length that the fence would extend north. Our property, we bought our property in 1999, so we've been there about 27 years and always had a clear view of the lake on the south end of their property, south of the house, about a 60-foot opening space. We've got a picture window that looks out on the lake there, and pretty much any place along our side yard, backyard, anywhere we're walking in the yard, we have a nice view of that. It was one of the first things we noticed when we moved there. And I think if we ever chose to sell the property, I think that would be, appealing aspect. I think it primarily affects us and our neighbors to the north, the Christies, but, a lot of people walk in that area. And, I think just the walking around that corner, it's just an open, for the neighborhood and so forth. It's an open space. I don't really have any objection to the fence stretch south of there, behind the house. Really, our vantage point, where we can see from our property, that the house would be blocked by the front of their house. The way it would angle back southeast. So our line of sight would be the south, to the south would be that viewpoint. And so any fencing that would be south of that, I don't have any problem with. And I've eyeballed it and tried to look at it from their perspective. And, I think if you drew a line from that corner on towards our property, I estimated, I walked it off and just eyeballed it, and I think that right now, under the plan, they would have to come out at least 25 feet from, there's a corner marker on the south corner. So I believe because of traffic concerns, they would have to come out at least 25 feet. So that's the farthest that, my understanding under the site plan, that would extend. So my proposal would be if they would extend that another 35 feet south, as far as the starting point of that fence. And, eyeballing it from our neighborhood, I noticed you had some pictures up earlier. There's a white rail fence there, about, 3-foot fence there. And I noticed if about maybe 3 or 4 feet west of our line of sight would end there anyway. So anything south of that point, and I don't know what their expectations are or anything. I don't want to speak for, what they had planned, but, just looking at it objectively and from their perspective, it still seems like there would be quite a bit of fencing. I think it would still leave about 100 feet of fencing that would be behind their backyard. I can see the picture of the garage, but I think that would probably come out near the back of the garage. And I'm assuming the garage would provide some type of enclosure there. So, my proposal would be that the fence, again, I'm not objecting to the fence itself, but that the starting point would be moved approximately 35 feet to the south. But the beginning point, so that the variance would not be granted, the 6-foot variance. I don't care if they have the 6-foot fence, farther south of that. And just looking at the notice or the standards under the ordinance, I don't see that limitation would cause them undue hardship or practical difficulty. I don't know that there's anything unusual about the property circumstances that would really warrant extending it that far. But I do think the direct effect on the neighbors there, us and the Christies and anyone in the neighborhood, that the public interest would outweigh the benefit for that stretch of fence. But otherwise, I don't, the garage, the way the property's angled back, doesn't really block our view. So the driveway or anything, it's just primarily just that stretch of fencing. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer those.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Mark Williams. I live at 2238 Old Lakeshore Road, directly across the street. You can see my driveway in that picture up there. A couple of things. I want to talk about the garage and the fence. First of all, I want to tell you, I think this new garage probably affects me the most, and I'm in 100% favor of these guys having a new garage. And it's been a topic of conversation for 30 years about the lots in St. Joe. They were all designed back in the early 1900s for small houses and single car garages for Model T cars. And we have that 5-foot setback from the sidelines, and that's probably a story for a different day. But I think it would be nice if the city starts maybe reanalyzing that and maybe go up to like South Haven, where they've made those 1-foot setbacks with firewalls. But that's another topic for another day. So I just wanted to say that I'm completely in favor for this for a number of reasons. It'll give them a more usable garage. It raises the tax value on that house, and been coming to all the meetings, and I know all the future expenses that this city infrastructure that this city is expecting over the next 5 to 10 years, that we can use a higher tax base, and that'll add to that. In terms of the fence, the way I look at it is 2 properties to the south, they have a 6-foot fence. Their neighbors have a 6-foot fence. And I'm not sure why, if the precedent has been set for those 6-foot fences, why these guys couldn't do it. And I just happened to pull up the Google map of the view. There is a little tiny guess maybe a little tiny view right there from that one window. And I'm not sure that that would be a reason for a neighbor across the street to not want the fence because of a tiny little view and maybe it's a bigger view in the winter when there's no leaves on the trees. But I just, as a neighbor, I'm in favor of granting them a little extension for the corner of that garage and also for the 6-foot privacy fence for noise pollution.
Thank you.
I will make one response to that.
Sure.
I appreciate Mark's comment and, you know, he known his parents and, you know, very good family. What he characterizes as very little view to us is a precious view of, you know, it's not expansive, but the unique aspect of it, it's right on the corner and the way the property sticks out and Lakeshore comes through, then that creates an open area there. I would agree that the properties south of there have, you know, there's 6-foot fences that directly behind their house. This property, you know, as I said, I have no problem with it extending out behind their house, probably another 100 feet or so. But I would dispute the characterization as a tiny little view. You know, if you're looking on a camera, maybe it is, but, you know, we have it from the window, but also up and down our front yard or backyard, you know, different vantage points a couple times a year. In March and September for those months, we can see the sunset from that point. So what's a little view to someone, you know, to us is a precious view that increases the value of our property. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Deborah Christie. I'm at 2219 Shore Drive, right beside Mark's house. So I'm the other house with maybe a peekaboo view, but to us, it is definitely our lake view. We've lived in the home for 4 years. It's one of the reasons we bought the home. And I'm not an engineer. I'm not an architect. So I don't know exactly, you know, what a solution would be, but I do know that the 6-foot variance would affect our view that we look at every day. And it would be a very disappointing and disheartening decision to not have that view anymore. And I look out my window every day, be it summer or winter, and can see the lake.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Oh, go ahead.
Since we've been here often, I thought we'd just introduce ourselves. I'm Javier Diaz. Ron Kruger. And I just wanted to thank everybody who came here and for the support and for your honest opinions about your thoughts, as well as the committee and the board. We, you know, we're moving to the community to be contributing members of this thriving town. And so you may have seen us at the meetings because we want to learn. We want to know the process. We want to know the people. We want to be involved. We've lived in Stevensville and we drove by Lakeshore Drive many, many times to Blossom Fest, to the Christmas lights, to take our nieces and nephews to the beach. And, you know, we always pass by this home. And one day we saw an estate sale. And we met Irma. Does anybody know Irma? So we met her, and just by chance, we found out she was looking to move. And we were fortunate enough to be able to acquire the home. And what made this unique was that we had looked for many, many years. We wanted something, and we were always afraid when we bought something that somebody might build something in front of us. So we wanted to make sure that we had something that we could always have a view. And we also wanted a place that was safe. we've witnessed along Lakeshore Drive, the highway gets really very busy, and it's unique that it's on the corner where cars come curving around. A 6-foot fence is really a way for us to have safety when we have the kids over. It's dangerous there, especially also on, what's the name of the street? On Wallace, especially when school's letting out. You'll see cars fishtailing out and getting in near accidents. There is a memorial, and there was a fatal car crash in our secondary front yard on November 8th, 2021. Does anyone remember that?
I heard it overnight, heard it happen.
Yeah, and it was right in that yard. 6-foot fence is going, a 3.5-foot fence is not going to do anything to deter that. 6 foot is going to bring that to view, and it's also going to help prevent that type of accident. We're nervous about that, and we really are looking for that type of safety. Privacy also, because we have 2 secondary front yards, there's no place to walk around without people watching us. We do respect, the opinions of those who are here. And because they're our neighbors, we've already talked, we want to make sure that we continue to have a good relationship with them. But we're really looking at safety primarily, privacy, the noise. And that's really all that we wanted to say, but I wanted to say thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you, Avi, for helping to design a beautiful place.
All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing again. So however you want to handle that in a minute, Dalton, offer you a challenge. All right, discussion of the board.
Yeah, I have a couple questions for staff. First one is definition of the through lot. And I know there was discussion in the planning commission last year, defining or clarifying some of the lots, but the through lot, a definition on page 2746 says on a through lot, all street lines shall be deemed front lot lines for setback. And in the report, it says it's a secondary front, and the corresponding illustration on one of the following pages is consistent with the definition. So I was wondering if we're missing an update.
So we are currently in the process of moving forward text amendments that are going to be clarifying the definitions for through lots within the ordinance, specifically as it applies to this case. So it's treated as a front lot line for setback purposes, and it's considered a secondary front yard, which within, I guess, specifically regards to the fence ordinance, it specifies a maximum height for fencing within a secondary front yard. So it wouldn't have a setback per se, but it would be within that secondary front yard setback and therefore apply the secondary front yard height requirement.
So even though it's bounded by 2 streets, the through lot does not have 2 front yards. It has a front yard where the address is, and you're saying it's a secondary front on old.
Correct. I mean, to an extent, we're splitting hairs. So a secondary front yard is treated as a front yard
Yeah.
for
Okay.
the purposes of the ordinance, but it's called a secondary front yard to distinguish it because the home does front onto Old Lake Shore.
Okay. All right. The second question is concerning the fence. And you have like 3 questions, 1, 2, 3 on packet page 15. And I was wondering where those provocations came from because I'm not familiar with those.
So apologies.
No, go ahead.
So the fence ordinance has its own standards for a variance. It does not use the same standards that are used for
Correct.
other dimensional requirements.
Correct.
I split it up into 1, 2, 3. That's not exactly how it is spelled out within the fence ordinance.
Yes.
I have it spelled out verbatim how it is in the fence ordinance directly above that. I simply broke it into 3 parts within the
Okay.
staff report so that the different factors that it weighs within that paragraph can be kind of digested a bit more easier.
Okay,
for
no,
purposes
no,
of-
that's very helpful. I just, we're trying to track where they come from.
Absolutely.
Then the third question has to do with character. Meaning community character and or neighborhood character. And the one has to do with the property variance and standard B that you're mentioning that we should cite the City Village Zoning Act, item 15, that discusses conservation of community character and property values. Well, character in that sense has something to do with aesthetics to me. The second aspect of the character is also mentioned then in your number 3 provocation about the fence on packet page 15 as well. And it talks about the neighborhood character. And so we haven't been doing a lot of aesthetic judgments, if you will, in, dimensional zoning. But those 2 items to me have something to do with aesthetics, mentioning character, community character and neighborhood character. And we've heard some comments today about aesthetics. So is that something, the character, community character or neighborhood character, something that we should really consider as part of dimensional zoning?
So in regards, so I guess to start with standard B for these dimensional variants in Article 15, I'm citing the zoning ordinances section on the general purposes and intents.
Yes.
So I cited specifically item 15. Other items may be applicable as well. I
Yeah.
found that to be the most applicable for this given
Yeah.
situation. Character would be something that we would consider for, say, like a special land use via the planning commission. And I believe it would be a valid critique to be able to look at here and a worthwhile portion of your discussion on how that would impact the community character.
Yep.
And then specifically in regards to the fence ordinance,
Yes.
I split it up into 3. It specifically refers to the public interest, in which case would be community character, and public safety would be some of the, I would say, the main concerns involved with that.
Okay. I just wanted clarification because it's a little different than perhaps what we've been used to. But I think we all appreciate your systematic organization. I just didn't know where some of it came from. Thank you.
So maybe we tackle the low-hanging fruit first. Where do people stand on the requested variance for the garage?
Well, so it's a non-conforming primary structure, and as we can see on the map, the 30-foot front setback cuts right through the house. That, I think, is the elephant in the room, more so than the corner clip of the other secondary front setback of 30 feet. So as everyone knows, non-conforming primary structures aren't supposed to be expanded or enlarged and encouraged.
So would you consider the garage to be, so they remodel the house? that's already non-conforming.
That's correct.
Adding the garage doesn't change that, right?
It affects the ordinance. The ordinance says no expansion to a non-conforming structure.
Yeah, in my mind, this expansion, while it is expanding a non-conformity, the addition itself is, I mean, if you look at that, what's buildable on that lot, you'd be hard pressed to build
That's right.
a home in the buildable area of that lot.
Yes, and
And
what's
the majority of this addition is in that allowable buildable area.
exactly, and what's fascinating here is that when you look at the square area available, and it's 35% max coverage in R1A, somehow Old Lakeshore Drive cuts right through the lot. And so when I was trying to figure out the math of this through lot, which is triangular shape, but then I realized that the other third is on the opposite, on the west side of the street. Which is very peculiar, to say the least.
Yeah, based on the geometry of the lot, I can certainly support the variance request for the clip corner of the garage.
I can as well.
So with that, addressing the fence issue, that's a tougher struggle for me. I'd point out a couple of things that the 2 6-foot fences to the south, I don't know whether they were allowed or not, but they were certainly built under a previous fence ordinance. I would also, to the point of view shed, I mean, a view shed is not a guaranteed thing. And that view would certainly be impacted by a 6-foot fence. However, that view could also be affected by landscaping. A row of arborvitae and any number of things might interrupt that view, and none of which would come before the planning or the zoning board of appeals. So by no means is someone's view shed guaranteed. While I appreciate their enjoyment of that view shed, again, it's nothing guaranteed. However, I do struggle with, I understand the safety concern. So if it's a safety concern, I assume whatever that fence is going to be rather robust in an attempt to keep cars out of the yard. It's not going to be a vinyl fence in my mind. It's going to be something far more substantial. And I really struggle with looking at, the findings for the fence of, okay, how do I get from, a 42-inch fence to a 6-foot fence in that secondary front yard? That's where I'm struggling is it the least amount that's required?
Yeah, I agree. Again, section 12-10, back at page 15. Number 1, adjacency to the lakeshore is not remarkable, to Lakeshore Drive, rather, is not remarkable. All the neighborhoods in R1A and then across the street in R1C, we have someone from R1C commenting, have, don't have barriers, I'll call it 6-foot barriers in their front yards. Secondly, the owner can enjoy the secondary front with a compliant fence. I think that's the same as any other house in R1A as you drive down through the busy Lakeshore Drive. And then number 3 affects the neighborhood character, which we already talked about. both in R1A and R1C. I actually think that the 6-foot fences that are not in compliant and the two neighboring through lots, and those are through lots, before you actually get frontage again on Lakeshore Drive further south, are eyesores. And it does disrupt the integrity of the neighborhood as you drive down there. Because they're like the Great Wall of China, compared to the openness of the rest of the neighborhood, regardless of what zone district they're in.
I have a question about, we've already been given one alternative, which is to start the fence a different area. And talking contingencies and alternatives, what about allowing 6-foot area of the fence for the safety concerns with tapering down so as not to block a view? I don't know if that geometry works and try not to solve everything, but I've only heard one alternative design, but that's something that has been considered. Might be a compromise there.
Yes, and we could certainly pass something with qualifications.
Or we could split it, prove the garage, and ask them to come back with another proposal that meets the standard of least disruption for the fence. Because the fence doesn't have to go up today.
Yeah, I'm just not,
Rather than try to solve it.
I don't like.
Mr. Chair, I believe Trudy on staff has a comment she'd like to share.
Wanted to point out a lot of you are new members, and the house to the south that is very open south, that fence was allowed with the variance.
just the portion coming west, the serpentine wall.
In the corner.
Well, the wall was damaged by the car wreck,
By the
so
time-
they had the right to rebuild that
Correct.
wall as is. The serpentine wall did in fact get a variance.
Right. But again, setting bad examples and having had set bad examples and then following them is not what the ordinance is about.
Yes, ma'am.
And this reason that we put the brick light is that we had a whole row of other light. They were probably 15 feet tall, so you couldn't see our house. They were healthy on this Tennessee side and dead on ours, because we have a neighbor who's the unit side. So you still had no view of our house with those. And so we actually hope that we improved the view, pulling out the dead trees and putting them all. We tried to do that design so that it was less. But
Well-
to answer your question, I didn't realize you had designed the house in 1994. But there was, he did not own it. The garage was, a 3-car garage was added. And they needed, and the fence, I think might have been there, but just needed a couple inches to put that fence up, or the wall.
So are you talking about the serpentine wall or the straight wall along the sidewalk of Lakeshore?
That accident, his car came around so fast.
Yeah.
The little curves, the car didn't curve. And so it went straight into one of our bone, hence we did that. But the point I would like to make is with the arborvitae's, there was no view of our house. It was done in privacy.
Thank you. Further discussion of the board?
You buy a house along Lake Shore Drive, you know what you're buying. And And there's plenty of residential, beautiful setbacks, setback homes already along that whole area with plenty of curves. And actually, the 30-foot setback is kind of perhaps the buffer for, or the buffer for the compromise of buying along Lakeshore Drive. And I'd hate to see other neighbors all the way up through putting 6-foot fences up along the neighborhood, and all of a sudden you're driving through a corridor of fences.
Dalton, is your direction here based on how you put the packet together? I assume you want us to run through findings for the dimensional variance for the garage.
Correct. So they came in on one application, but they are two separate requests. If you would like to handle them as, I would recommend reviewing them as two separate items
Yes.
because they use different standards.
Right.
With
That's-
that said, if you would like to include them on one motion or split it into two motions, that would be kind of to your discretion as to how you'd like to proceed with that.
Don't you have it formatted that way as
Correct.
two different motions?
So my recommendation motion, I didn't want to make it too many pages long and too confusing to provide every possibility. I have it set as just one motion for each item being included in it for either an approval or denial as a sample. However, I've highlighted the portions that you would like to alter to remove one or the other, if you would like to split it into two separate items.
Yeah, I would suggest that we split it in two separate items with two separate motions. So if we want to take the garage first, do somebody want to read through the findings?
Oh, and a quick point of clarification before reading through the findings. On item A, there is a small portion of commentary about the fence that I had meant to remove that last sentence there. So as reading through, just note that that last sentence on item A was meant to be removed.
Right.
All right, so I'll take a swing at it. Finding A, the variance would not be detrimental to adjacent property and the surrounding neighborhood. Again, this is specific to the garage and the encroachment there into the setback. The 4-foot encroachment into the 30-foot secondary front yard setback is of small enough size with placement ensuring the garage would not be encroaching particularly close to any structures on adjacent properties such that the impact on adjacent properties would be minimal.
Correct. So on the application, as well as in preliminary meetings and review with applicant, the reduction was estimated at 4 feet. It was included in that commentary in my updated recommended motions. That was adjusted to 5.2 feet to more accurately represent what was provided to you on the plan set, final plan set that was submitted by the applicant.
Again, I believe that that encroachment is fairly minimal in the overall scope of things.
Right.
B, the variance would not impair the intent and purpose of the ordinance.
Page 13.
Somehow I've got mine all out of whack.
Yeah, page 13's next.
The purpose of the variance would allow for the most advantageous configuration of the property for the owner's purposes, allowing the homeowner to adjust the floor plan of the home to their liking. Any comment to that from the board?
I agree.
C, exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions apply to the property in question or the intended use of the property that do not generally apply to other properties in the same zoning district and vicinity. Such circumstances shall create a particularly difficulty because of unique circumstances or physical conditions such as narrowness, shallowness, exceptional shape or topography for the property involved or for the intended use of the property. Based on the geometry of the property, I certainly think there are some extraordinary circumstances with an extremely small buildable area based on the required setbacks. D, the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right similar to that possessed by other properties in the same zoning district and in the vicinity. The possibility of increased financial return shall not of itself be deemed sufficient to warrant a variance. The setback reduction is necessarily to allow room for the development of a two-car garage, which many other properties have, and would not be atypical in terms of size. I can certainly agree with that. E, the condition or situation for the specific piece of property or for the intended use of the property for which the variance is sought is not of so general or recurrent nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for the condition or the situation. I don't believe we need to change the entire ordinance. This doesn't happen that often, and I don't believe that that would be prudent. F, the condition or situation for which variance is sought shall not be the result of the actions of the property owner. The property owner did not put the original house positioned on the property the way it is. They are simply trying to improve it with a two-car garage. G, strict compliance with the area setbacks, frontage, height, bulk, or density requirements would unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted use or would render conformity unnecessarily burdensome. The odd shape of the lot would make strict conformity with the setback requirements difficult while also developing a practical home on the property. And I could say that, further say that, the garage in other placements might well expand the nonconformity of the existing house to a larger extent than this proposal does. Let's see. H, the variance request is the minimum change necessary to mitigate the hardship. Again, I think the garage is well positioned on the property and that little bit of encroachment, I think, is minor in the overall scheme of things. I, the variance will relate only to the property that is the subject of the application. I wholeheartedly believe that's true. So we have findings.
Yeah,
Right.
where is that?
If we're trying to work through this kind of new process, if each of the members could indicate their viewpoint with the findings, that would be helpful. And if you agree with how the chair presented those, you could simply state you agree with that. If you have more to add, feel free to add to whatever standards you believe to add to, or if you disagree, please state that as well.
Yeah, I think it was more in reference to Kurt's comment about disagreeing with any of the standards the last time we talked, right?
Not trying to change the process, just wanted to make sure that they both got
Well,
equal.
Yeah.
So how's everybody feeling?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody gets their chance. to
I
vote.
am completely in favor of how you presented the findings. We should move forward.
And I agree.
I agree with all points in favor.
I agree. For the garage portion.
Just the garage, right?
Perfect. Would someone like to make a motion based on those findings? No, it's the
Is that-
double-sided
is that
paperwork that
on
got
here?
me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's this?
Yeah.
You take it.
All right, so the zoning board of appeals moves, I move to approve Javier Diaz's dimensional variance request to allow the corner of a proposed garage to encroach 5.2 feet into the required 30-foot secondary front setback.
We have a motion. Do we have support for the motion?
Also,
Um,
You
There
want the
is
rest of it
actually more
too?
to the motion, yes.
Okay, I'll give you more.
You don't have to read the fencing portion, but
I
the
know,
rest
yep.
of that would.
At the
be
property
included.
located at 2301 Old Lake Shore Drive, as the application has satisfied all the standards set forth under Article 15, Section 15.4.10 of the City of St. Joseph zoning ordinance and or secondary 12.10A of the City of St. Joseph. Oh, no, not that one. Based upon the applicant's presentation, public comment, the ZBA's discussion, and the City of St. Joseph staff dated May 14th, 2026, which is hereby incorporated by reference.
So we have an amended motion. Will you amend your support for the motion?
I second the motion. The motion.
He
Excellent.
doesn't have to say the whole thing.
Further discussion on the motion? Please call the roll.
Member Healy,
Yes.
member Hubble,
Yes.
member Bucher,
Yes.
member Piesbeck,
Yes.
Chair Ebert.
Yes. Okay, on to the fence. Different set of standards for the fence.
So do we go through those three here that you've kind of outlined for us? Is that a good way of doing it, or how do
I
you?
think that would be appropriate. The way it's laid out in the fence ordinance is kind of one paragraph. It doesn't really split them up. The way that I
Right.
presented them split up is just for kind of ease of digestion of
Yep.
the different points it hits on.
Chunks.
Yeah.
Of information. Okay. You want me to take a stab at it?
Absolutely.
Would you? Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you go
no.
ahead. Yep, And I'll work on the motion.
Well, the motion, yeah, okay, that's, yeah, that's the new one,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, there are special circumstances of the property which are not the reasonably foreseeable result of the actions of the property owner. The adjacency to Lakeshore Drive may not be considered remarkable enough to constitute an exceptional or extraordinary circumstance or condition when compared to other through lots within the city, as there are many other properties which are adjacent to Lakeshore Drive and other major thoroughfares throughout the city. So you want us to kind of agree or disagree one at a time as members for that?
Yeah,
You
you
didn't
can
read
provide
it.
alternative discussion, agree, disagree.
That's correct. Because I'm not in favor. So I don't know how else to, I don't, yeah.
That's a process question.
Apologies, could you repeat the question?
Do we read both the in favor and in opposition?
I think with the method that the board is proceeding, it would be best to read both and then specify whether or not you are individually in favor, in opposition, or have additional
Okay.
arguments in either direction.
Okay, I failed then. Okay, so then the in favor would be the subject property is a through lot which fronts onto Lakeshore Drive, one of the most trafficked thoroughfares within the city. Its status as such is not a result of actions of the property owner.
Yes, and I think that is intended to go towards the safety issue. You know, if we're looking for a robust barrier to keep cars out of the house and the yard, I'm not sure that it has to be 6 feet tall. I imagine there are robust barriers that could meet our front yard fence height, while would not offer the visual part that they're looking for. It could certainly offer the safety part.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. Number two, the strict enforcement of this chapter would unreasonably deprive the owner of the lawful use and enjoyment of the property. So for this would be conformity with fencing height requirements would limit the owner's ability to enjoy the entirety of their backyard area in privacy. Backyard area meaning secondary front. In opposition, the applicant is permitted to either install a 3.5 foot tall fence in the desired area or have a 6 foot fence with which is set back outside of the secondary front yard area. Doing so would not allow the applicant to both utilize their entire backyard area and maintain privacy, though it would remain in line with how other through lots are treated. Any other comments? Backyard area to me is a little misconstrued, especially when we're talking about a front yard.
It does become complicated because it is a secondary front
That's
yard.
correct.
So for the applicant's property owner's purposes, it would kind of function as their backyard for like their intents and purposes. Per the ordinance definitions, it is a secondary front yard. So balancing the intentions of the applicant with the strict definitions of the ordinance and discussing how it will impact them. But you are correct that it is a secondary front, yes.
And in the opposition comments, are we offering a contingency to have the 6 foot tall fence in the secondary yard area? Is that
So what I'm referencing is
be
the
implied?
the two options that they could, two potential options they could do that are within the confines of the ordinance. Those are not alternatives, conditions or otherwise that you could pursue. Those are options that are available to the applicant via the ordinance as is.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Number three, the strict enforcement of this chapter would be contrary to the spirit and the purpose of these provisions or the public interest. So 4 would be the fence ordinance does not contain a section regarding intents and purposes. The board should discuss how the fence may affect community character, property values, and public safety. In opposition, the fence ordinance does not contain a section regarding intents and purposes, which is repetitive. The aesthetic character of the neighborhood may be altered by the addition of the fence compared to how it currently exists.
Makes it hard to approve when it says we should discuss the character.
Yeah.
If that's gonna be the recommendation, that can't just approve it.
Yes,
Unless
so,
you-
so I guess to clarify, the staff comments in favor and in opposition are not necessarily intended to form a recommendation as much as they are to fuel discussion and provide kind of a jumping off point for points to consider regarding each of the standards, whether you're for or against. In this case, again, as it states twice, as you clarified, the fence ordinance does not contain a specific section regarding intents and purposes. Because of this, I think it would be appropriate for the board to kind of generally discuss the sort of most simplified versions of the intents and purposes of our ordinances, which is to generally maintain community character and public safety and such.
Well, as far as condition, without variances, there's still opportunity with this floor plan, with this plan, to put a 6-foot fence on the property. It just has to be within the confines of the ordinance and the layout.
Correct. So it would have to be outside of the secondary front yard area, which would functionally be within that buildable area as it is
Correct.
shown on the plans.
Correct.
A little bit more because they do have the one side yard area, which is just outside of that, but generally within that buildable area, a 6-foot fence could
Yeah.
theoretically exist.
Because the orientation of the lot, right, is one, and then the structure is skewed, right? But you still have a side yard and a point at which the fence could go. I'll call it a point because of the triangle.
Well, we got 3 things: community character, which he's already talked about. Member Peter. Property values, which some of our community has talked about, which I think is valid. Neighbors. And public safety, as you've already talked about, could be achieved with other than a 6-foot.
Yeah, I think
I think we've addressed all.
I think there's options both from the privacy side as well as from the safety side, that could be achieved within our ordinance without a variance. Other comments concerning those findings? Would someone like to make a motion?
Okay, here we go. On behalf of the Zoning Board of Appeals, I move to deny Javier Diaz's dimensional variance request to allow for approximately 140 feet of 6 feet tall fencing to be installed in a secondary front yard area at the property located at 2301 Old Lake Shore Drive, as the application has not satisfied all the standards set forth under section 12-10A of the City of St. Joseph Fence Ordinance based upon the applicant's presentation, public comment, the ZBA's discussion, and the City of St. Joseph staff report dated May 14th, 2026, which is hereby incorporated by reference. The application fails to comply with standard B because if approved, the variance would not conserve character and property values of the neighborhood.
We have a motion. Is there support for the motion?
I support.
Further discussion on the motion? Please call the roll.
Member Piethbach,
Yes.
member Euchre,
Yes.
member Hubble,
Yes.
member Healy,
Yes.
Chair Ebert.
Yes. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Good luck to you.
Please come back with a little something. Yeah.
All right, I've misplaced my agenda.
I got you.
I don't, we've still got a meeting, so, if you could take your conversations to the hallway, please. I don't believe we have any old business.
We do not.
New business, we have a new member who I failed to introduce earlier. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here? What made you want to do this?
Oh, gosh. My name is David Feltzmiller, and I live here in St. Joseph, obviously, and I've worked in cybersecurity for a long time. I have, we have an old house and we've made a number of updates to it. And so, in previous homes and in this one, we've also been before the Board of Appeals. So I think I understand, what it's like to be on the other side. And, I just felt like I wanted to be part of both helping people out and understanding the community. So that was my motivation. So,
Fantastic. Well, we're glad to have you.
yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. So I've already feel like I've learned a ton in one meeting.
Audience comments? And the rest of the audience. And the rest of the audience ran away. Board comments?
Oh, when did we start redacting the applications? I thought I was going through the Epstein files first.
Staff tries to redact because the materials are made public. We try to redact personal information of
Oh, okay.
applicants so that they don't receive any unwanted phone calls or emails and such.
Okay.
Epstein file.
We've had some issues with, spam.
Oh, yeah.
emails
Sure.
and,
Oh, okay.
fake invoices.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Staff comments?
At this time, we have not received any applications for next month's meeting. The deadline is Monday. I have spoke with 3 potential applicants, though no application has been received at this time.
Yeah, that's one thing. Could you let us know, whether, either way, whether something is in the pipeline? That way,
Absolutely. So would you like a standing email, the day after the deadline, just indicating
Correct.
whether or not the meeting will
Yeah.
occur? We can accommodate that.
thanks.
We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have support for the motion?
I support.
I think we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.